He was one of the Empire's most decorated generals, celebrated for victories across the galaxy. But in the end, his loyalty earned him nothing but scars. In the dim light of the Senate, he stood tall, a gaunt figure, eyes unblinking, his face a patchwork of scars and cybernetics, his presence almost ghostly. Hurst Romodi was once a celebrated hero, a symbol of what the New Order could accomplish. Yet behind that hardened visage lay a man consumed by nightmares and haunted by his unrelenting faith in an empire that ultimately discarded him. Romodi's life was a stark reminder that in the Galactic Empire, loyalty was both demanded and disregarded. The promises he had once believed in would betray him, leaving nothing but the scars of a lifetime of silence in their wake. Hurst Romodi was born on the trade world of Matacorn, a modest, unassuming planet far from the political heart of the galaxy. Growing up in the Lambda sector, Romodi witnessed firsthand the unrest that plagued the region. A trade route dispute had ignited tensions with the Aqualish species, and Romodi, young and determined, joined the planetary security forces to defend his home. It was here, in the sector's trenches, that Romodi's beliefs were forged, beliefs in order, justice, and a government that could bring lasting peace. His loyalty was tested as the Clone Wars erupted across the galaxy. One of the first non-clones to lead Republic troops, Romodi quickly made a name for himself as a capable and courageous officer. He commanded clone battalions in critical battles at Peldon Minor, Tulathari Junction, and Mygeeto, where his leadership earned him commendations and elevated him to the rank of colonel. To Romodi, each battle wasn't just a mission, it was a stand for the values he believed the Republic represented. When the Republic rebranded itself as the Galactic Empire, Romodi embraced this change, seeing it as an evolution of the Republic he had fought for, a symbol of strength in a galaxy fractured by war. In the early years of the Empire, Romodi's vision of order found a new ally in Admiral Terranald Screed, a decorated officer who had also risen through the ranks. Together, they launched the Seutric Offensive, a campaign designed to crush the last remnants of Separatist forces. For Romodi, this offensive was more than just another mission. It was proof that the Empire could achieve the peace he had so longed for. Romodi and Screed, although vastly different in their motivations, shared a mutual respect. Romodi believed in the Empire's potential, seeing his role as the personification of Imperial ideals. Screed, however, was driven by ambition and seized upon Romodi's dedication as a way to bolster his own career. As they coordinated devastating strikes across the Seutric sector, Romodi would often look to the skies, knowing Screed's fleet was overhead. To Screed, Romodi was a tool, a relentless and loyal instrument of Imperial conquest. The victories at Vinsoth and Vardos made Romodi a celebrated figure. Imperial citizens cheered him, news outlets praised him, and his reputation as a faithful servant of the Empire grew. Yet for Romodi, these victories were not about glory. They were about building a galaxy where the need for war would eventually disappear, where peace could finally be realized. But for Screed, peace was an afterthought, his sights already set on new territories to conquer, a new fortune to amass. The Empire's reach continued to stretch across the galaxy, and in 17 BBY, Romodi was once again called into action for the Western Reaches operation. This campaign, led by Moff Williff Tarkin, was heavily publicized. Romodi was now a symbol of Imperial strength, a figurehead to inspire troops and instill fear among the Empire's enemies. News crews recorded him directing battles from the open hatch of his floating fortress, a vulnerable position that exposed him to shrapnel and artillery fire. When advised that his constant exposure to artillery would lead to hearing loss, Romodi, ever dedicated, summoned a medical droid and ordered his eardrums replaced with cybernetics. It was a small price to pay, he believed, for loyalty to the cause. But that price would rise steeply at Brendar. During a routine operation, Romodi and Admiral Holt were ambushed by Iska pirates masquerading as local officials. A grenade exploded nearby, and shrapnel tore into Romodi's face, chest, and arms. Blinded, bleeding, and racked with pain, he refused to leave the battlefield. From within a Bacta tank, his vision obscured by blood and Bacta fluid, Romodi continued directing the operation, relying on his aides to describe the battle's progress. His loyalty to the Empire was so complete that even in agony, he would not abandon his duty. But these injuries were more than just physical wounds. They marked the beginning of Romodi's decline, a gradual unraveling of body and mind that the Empire would watch from afar with cold indifference. When Romodi returned to Imperial Center, the image he presented was one of both resilience and horror. His cybernetic eyes, a necessity after his injury at Brindar, gave him an unblinking, unnerving stare that made colleagues in the Senate uneasy. But Romodi, despite his wounds, was determined to serve. He accepted an appointment as senator of his native Lambda sector, advocating for increased military spending and support for Palpatine's rule. However, this new role did little to ease the damage of his experiences. Romodi's mind was no longer what it had been. Nightmares plagued him, visions of battlefields, the faces of men he'd commanded and lost, and the screams of artillery fire that no cybernetic implant could silence. In the Senate, he struggled to focus, his thoughts fragmented and plagued by painful memories. He was still haunted by the dreams of order he'd once held, but the visions were now twisted, fractured. His body had survived, but his spirit was slowly eroding. In time, it became apparent that Romodi could no longer maintain his senatorial duties. The once celebrated general who had given everything to the Empire was now dismissed as a shadow of his former self, his one-term career a footnote in the history of the Senate. His colleagues turned away, and the citizens who had once celebrated him forgot his name. Tarkin, however, saw a different use for Romodi. Rather than abandon the broken general, Tarkin appointed him as Battle Station Operations Chief on the Death Star. It was more ceremonial than functional, but to Romodi, it was another chance to serve. Despite his waning mental state, he still held onto a fragile faith in the Empire's promise of order and peace, believing the Death Star to be the ultimate solution to the galaxy's discord. In his mind, the massive weapon would finally bring an end to the rebellion, securing the Empire's strength forever. But his role on the Death Star was a cruel irony. Romodi's presence there was less about honor and more about convenience. He had become a symbol of loyalty to the Empire, no longer a man, but a testament to the sacrifices expected of every Imperial officer. Tarkin kept him close, but only as a reminder to other officers of the price of loyalty. Romodi, now fitfully lucid, was given little more than a decorative position aboard the most destructive weapon the Empire had ever constructed. Romodi believed his faith would be justified. He believed the Death Star would end the chaos, that his loyalty would finally be rewarded with the peace he had always envisioned. But as rebel forces launched their fateful attack on the Death Star, Romodi's misplaced faith collapsed with it. In that final moment, he was left with nothing. No empire, no loyalty, no peace. Hurst Romodi's life was a testament to loyalty and sacrifice. He gave everything, his body, his mind, his beliefs, to serve a cause he thought would bring peace to the galaxy. But in the end, the Empire's promises were empty. His sacrifices became just another footnote in the Empire's relentless pursuit of power, his loyalty repaid only with scars, pain, and silence. Romodi's tragic end aboard the Death Star was not just the end of a man, but the end of the dream he once held. He died a loyal soldier, but the Empire he served had long betrayed him. His unyielding faith, which should have brought him honor and peace, instead led to abandonment, a life of scars and shadows. And in the silent void left by the destruction of the Death Star, Romodi's story remains, a cautionary tale of the price of loyalty to a cause that was never worthy of his trust. What do you think? Was Hurst Romodi a hero or a tragic pawn of the Empire? Did his loyalty make him stronger or lead to his downfall? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, and may the dark side be with you.